Hello everyone, back to you into today's video. It's Monday the 7th of January, Monday on GasWeatherVids.com. means only one thing. Yes, it's Europe Day, though it hasn't done for the last few Mondays, of course, because over Christmas and New Year I gave the European outlook a little bit of a rest, but we're back raring to go for another year of weather across the European continent today. And I should just say, Monday the 7th of January, it's 1 year since I started doing my weather videos, so thank you very much for sharing the 1 year anniversary with me. Thanks very much to all my European viewers for sharing that special day with me today. 7th of January 2012 was when I did my first video on YouTube, and of course eventually progressed to GasWeatherVids.com as well. So thank you very much for sharing this first anniversary with me. Now for a go video, I just want to talk about the advertising. Might usually be a video ad overlaying my web videos at GasWeatherVids.com. Please play those video ads. You'll be supporting GasWeatherVids.com by doing that. And I want to talk about the website I'm using. It's weathercentral.de. You find all the charts and a very extensive archive of historic charts going back to 1871 at Weather Central. You can find it on my links page. Just click on the links tab. You'll see the link to Weather Central. Click on that and go through its website. You can see all of these lovely charts for yourself. So once again, thank you very much for sharing the first year anniversary of my videos with me, and let's get on with the European outlook for the coming week. Now, it's been a very mild period over Christmas and New Year for much of the continent, and it's still very mild really. Today I've got this warm ridge here across many central and western parts of the continent, bringing up this very mild southwesterly wind through Ireland, Britain into Scandinavia as well. The cold air is in the east. We've got this northerly wind feeding down cold air out of Russia in towards the Black Sea and the far eastern parts of the continent, going down into Greece and Turkey as well. It's quite cold down there, but really that's the exception to the rule. Many parts of the continent are mild just at the moment. So this is the extent of the mild upper air in the west of Europe. Look how warm it is here across Ireland, Britain, down into France, Spain, Portugal, through the central Mediterranean. This was summer. It would be real heat wave here in the west. Equally, we see the cold air, the cold plunge going on down the eastern side of the continent, really from Poland eastwards. That's where the cold air is. And to the west it is a good deal milder. The dew points, the humidity in the atmosphere reflecting this as well. We've got the cold dew points here in the east, much milder dew points in west. Those central parts of Spain actually got some cold dew points, as is usually the case in inland parts of Spain. We do tend to see it quite cold there, even with warm upper air temperatures. But really it's the west that's mild, the east is cold. Scandinavia as always is quite cold, as is Russia. So for precipitation, actually a lot of dry weather across the continent today. We've got some rain stretching up through Ireland and into Scotland and northern England. We've got some rain, sleet and snow here to the west of Norway, and some light snow here across other parts of Scandinavia. But really much of the continent here through the central, southern and western parts of the continent actually having a lot of dry weather. And then we come down to this more disturbed weather in the east and the southeast. Much of this in the east is light snow, but in the southeast actually got some quite heavy rain and snow depending on where you are. So some quite heavy snow here through parts of Romania, through in towards Turkey perhaps as well, some hillier parts and inland parts of Turkey, whereas down towards Greece it's more likely to be heavy rain, but maybe some snow over higher ground. So the cold weather is in the east. That's where we've got the sub-zero temperatures, below freezing, really from Poland eastwards, but from Poland westwards it's actually quite mild and very mild here in the west of the continent, through Britain, Ireland, France, down into Spain. Pretty mild indeed. Things are going to be changing this week though, and we started that change. This area of high pressure beginning to build up over Scandinavia. It's going to start to bring down so much colder air in towards many northern and central parts of the continent through the latter stages of the week. But for Wednesday it's a bit of a messy picture really. We've got the high pressure beginning to build over Scandinavia with cold air starting to be drawn in, and the warm ridge here over the central parts of the continent out into the west is beginning to collapse as well, and that cold northerly plunge in the east is beginning to cool off. This is always one of the things you find with the continent, but as the west and the north cools, the east tends to warm up a little bit, and it can be vice versa. When it's warm in the west it's often cold in the east. So we see that the cold plunge is beginning to ease off here through these eastern parts of the continent. At the same time, it's starting to turn colder over Scandinavia, but really still quite mild across many parts of the continent through the middle of the week, but not as mild as it is just at the moment. Precipitation, again, a lot of dry weather through much of the continent. We're losing the rain, sleet and snow down in the southeast, dry for many of these central areas, but turning more unsettled in the west, so some rain there through northern parts of Spain, through northern France as well, and much of this through Germany is rain also, and Denmark. Once we get through towards Norway and Scandinavia, then we start to find some of this turning to snow. Up to the northeast, of course, this is all snow that we see here around Finland and through into western Russia as well. So it is cooling down across many parts of the continent through the middle of the week. Not cold, but cooler than it is right now. Then again, it would be hard to get it much warmer than it is right now across some parts of the continent. It's still cold in the east, very cold in these eastern countries, but that should be starting to ease off just a touch. Let's get through to the end of the week. Well, now we're starting to bring down some proper cold air into these central parts of the continent associated with this trough of low pressure. At the same time, the high pressure is building over Scandinavia, starting to block these areas of low pressure coming into the British Isles, and the jet stream is beginning to track south as well as we pull the area of high pressure out from Spain and Portugal. So the upper air temperature shown that it's turning cold now across many central and northern parts of the continent. The -5 isotherm there is stretched out through much of Germany in towards the Low Countries. Denmark is turning cold as well. It's very cold through these northeastern countries, and it's turning cold through Scandinavia as well. Notice low temperatures lifting up here in the southeast. That's part of that balanced out what I talked about. As it turns cold in the northwest, it begins to warm up in the southeast. It's still relatively mild for Britain and France, down in Spain and Portugal, but it is turning cooler. Dew points again showing that it's turning very cold here through many central parts of the continent. A big change is on the way through the latter stages of the week, with cold air coming back into Germany and also down in towards some parts of France as well. And even that cold air beginning to knock on the door of the eastern parts of the British Isles, but it's really in the north and the northeast that it's turning very, very cold through the end of the week. So much of this precipitation over Germany and in towards parts of Austria, Poland, down into the southeast, parts of the Balkans, also in towards Hungary. Much of this is going to be turning to snow through the end of the week. All of this up to the northeast is snow, although it is quite light. This down across Greece is probably more in the way of rain. And then for much of France and Spain, it's actually quite dry until we come into the British Isles and Ireland, where it is turning a good deal more unsettled. We started to bring rain into Ireland and the southwest of England. And for the temperatures at the end of the week, well, there's the evidence that it's turning colder through these central parts of Europe, Germany, a big plunge in temperature taking place. But at the same token, these eastern and southeastern parts actually seeing the temperatures lifting up a little bit. And it's turning colder as well through Britain, Ireland and France. Also very cold up here in the northeast and through Scandinavia, severely cold. I mean, going beyond this out in towards next weekend, very briefly, we see that the dew points are turning severely cold here across much of the continent. The cold air getting all the way to Britain and Ireland, down into France as well. Many parts of the continent turning really cold at the end of the week and into next weekend, with a growing risk by next weekend of widespread disruptive snow starting to develop across many parts of the continent. So it's really a week of change across Europe this week. We start the week on a very mild note, particularly in the west, cold in the east, but we aimed it with all places away from the southeast, where it will be warming up a little bit, turning very, very cold by next weekend. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. Come back next Monday for the next European Outlook. I think it'll be quite an interesting one. That's it for now.